Kamchatka Peninsula, a remote land in Russia's Far East, is a realm of volcanoes and wild beauty. Beneath its surface, immense forces are at work. Kamchatka sits on the Pacific Ring of Fire, one of the most geologically active zones on Earth. Here, tectonic plates collide, fueling earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Nearly 90% of the world's earthquakes and 75% of its active volcanoes are found along this ring. Kamchatka's landscape is shaped by over 160 volcanoes, 29 of them still active. The peninsula's position makes it a global hotspot for seismic and volcanic activity. Events like the Great Earthquake of 2025 are part of an ongoing story of creation and destruction. Kamchatka's seismic fury is driven by the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone, where the Pacific plate dives beneath the Okhotsk plate. This collision stores immense energy as the plates grind and lock together. When the strain becomes too great, it's released in violent megathrust earthquakes. The Pacific plate moves about 80 millimeters per year, fast in geological terms, ensuring frequent powerful quakes. These shallow ruptures can lift the seafloor, generating tsunamis that cross the Pacific. The 2025 earthquake was a predictable result of these relentless forces. Kamchatka's geology makes it a hotspot for the world's most powerful and dangerous earthquakes. Understanding this region is key to grasping our planet's seismic might. On July 30th, 2025, just before midnight, decades of built-up stress erupted off Kamchatka's coast. The Earth shook with a magnitude 8.8 megathrust quake, one of the most powerful ever recorded. Buildings in Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky swayed, the ground rolled, and panic swept the region. The quake's shallow depth meant its energy was felt intensely on land and displaced massive volumes of seawater. In the darkness, residents were jolted awake by the chaos. Shattering glass, groaning buildings, and the ominous retreat of the sea. The stage was set for a devastating tsunami. This was a raw, unforgettable display of the planet's power. Kamchatka's people faced nature's fury head-on. The 2025 quake was preceded by powerful foreshocks, including a magnitude 7.4 event just 10 days earlier. These tremors signaled the fault was nearing its breaking point. When the main shock struck, a vast section of the fault ruptured, shifting the entire peninsula several meters west in minutes. The land was permanently reshaped. Aftershocks, some nearly as strong as the foreshocks, rattled the region for weeks. Hundreds of smaller quakes followed, keeping residents on edge. The aftershock sequence was a stark reminder the Earth was still adjusting. For Kamchatka, the quake was not a single event, but a drawn-out ordeal. The main shock lasted up to 4 minutes, an eternity of relentless shaking. Coastal areas experienced severe intensity, but the offshore epicenter spared cities from total devastation. Buildings cracked, power failed, and roads split open. The quake's impact was immediate and dramatic, plunging communities into darkness and fear. The Earth's violence triggered more. Klyuchevskoy volcano erupted, sending ash skyward. Seismic waves had disturbed magma chambers, unleashing volcanic fury. Kamchatka's world was shaken, scarred, and forever changed. The peninsula stood as a vivid reminder of the planet's unstoppable forces. As dawn broke over Kamchatka, the first reports of the earthquake's impact arrived. Despite the magnitude 8.8 quake, casualties were minimal, just one indirect death and a handful of injuries. Damage was moderate, with flooding and boats washed away in Severokurilsk. Evacuations began swiftly, driven by memories of the 1952 tsunami. Relief was palpable, but the threat of a massive tsunami racing across the Pacific kept the region on edge. The magnitude 8.8 earthquake unleashed immense power, rupturing the seafloor and thrusting up a massive mound of water. Gravity collapsed this mound, sending tsunami waves racing across the Pacific at jetliner speeds. Coastal communities had only minutes to react before waves up to 4 meters high struck. The tsunami's force devastated both people and wildlife, a stark reminder of nature's overwhelming power. After the Kamchatka earthquake, tsunami waves raced across the Pacific, first reaching Japan. Authorities acted swiftly, issuing warnings and evacuations. The initial waves were small, but experts cautioned the danger was not over. As the tsunami continued, Hawaii and Midway Atoll braced for impact. The event tested emergency systems, highlighting both preparedness and the challenges of mass evacuation across the Pacific. The tsunami's energy raced across the Pacific, reaching the Americas and triggering advisories from Alaska to California. Warnings extended to South America with evacuations in Chile and alerts in Peru and Colombia. The event revealed how a single earthquake can threaten coastlines worldwide, with wave heights and impacts shaped by ocean floor and coastline. The 2025 Kamchatka tsunami was a powerful reminder. In our interconnected world, distant tremors can make global waves. Beneath the Pacific waves, the Kamchatka Peninsula sits at the edge of a colossal collision. Here, the Pacific plate dives under the Okhotsk plate, fueling volcanoes and earthquakes along the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone. This relentless process shapes the land, building mountains and trenches, and makes Kamchatka one of the most active seismic regions on Earth. Every earthquake here is a reminder. The ground beneath us is alive and always moving. At the boundary of the Pacific and Okhotsk plates lies a Megathrust fault, an engine of the world's most powerful earthquakes and tsunamis. These faults can unleash magnitude 8 or higher quakes, shaking continents and sending tsunamis across ocean. For decades, strain builds in silence, until suddenly the fault ruptures, the land lurches, the seafloor rises, and a tsunami is born. This hidden fault is the engine that drives Kamchatka's seismic story and its global impact. In Kamchatka, the Pacific plate's steady push means stress is always building along the fault lines. Earthquakes here are inevitable, each one a release in a never-ending cycle. The 2025 quake struck a seismic gap, a section storing strain for nearly a century. By understanding these patterns, we can better prepare and protect Kamchatka's communities for the future. The Great Earthquake of 2025 was only the latest in Kamchatka's long, violent history, one shaped by seismic waves and devastating tsunamis. This remote land has witnessed some of the world's most powerful geological events. Colossal earthquakes and tsunamis have repeatedly reshaped its coastline, leaving a legacy of destruction. These are not anomalies, but part of a violent rhythm that defines the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone. Understanding this history is essential to grasping the true scale of the events of 2025. As the 20th century dawned, Kamchatka's violent seismic history came into focus. In 1923, 2 massive earthquakes and tsunamis devastated the region. But the most infamous event struck in 1952. A magnitude 9 quake unleashed a catastrophic tsunami, destroying Severokurilsk and killing nearly half its people. Since then, the Kuril-Kamchatka subduction zone has remained relentlessly active, with powerful earthquakes and tsunamis shaping the region's reputation as one of the world's most dangerous seismic hotspots. In 2025, a massive earthquake struck Kamchatka, echoing the devastation of 1952. But this time, history changed. Thanks to early warning systems, rehearsed evacuations, and public education, the loss of life was minimal. Kamchatka's story is now one of resilience, proof that through science, preparation, and adaptation, we can survive nature's greatest forces and turn past tragedies into hope for the future. The most significant factor separating the 2025 earthquake from its devastating historical predecessors was the existence of a sophisticated, globe-spanning network of early warning systems. In the moments after the sea floor ruptured, a symphony of technology sprang into action. A dense network of seismometers, both on land and on the ocean floor, detected the primary seismic waves and instantly relayed data to warning centers around the Pacific. Within minutes, the earthquake's location, depth, and immense magnitude 8.8 were calculated. This rapid analysis was the crucial first step, confirming that a major tsunami-generating event had occurred and triggering the first wave of alerts. It was a race against time, and technology provided an indispensable head start that simply did not exist in 1952. This seismic detection was complemented by a second, equally critical layer of technology, the deep ocean assessment and reporting of tsunamis, or DART, buoy system. These advanced buoys, strategically positioned across the Pacific Ocean, are designed to detect the telltale pressure changes caused by a passing tsunami wave. When the waves generated off Kamchatka rolled across the open ocean, they passed over these buoys, which registered the change in sea level and transmitted the data via satellite in real time. This provided concrete confirmation that a dangerous tsunami had been generated and was propagating across the basin, allowing forecasters to refine their models and issue more specific and confident warnings to distant coastlines, from Japan to Hawaii and the Americas. In Russia, bolstered coastal monitoring systems and sirens were activated, broadcasting urgent messages to the communities most at risk. In Japan, a nation at the forefront of disaster preparedness, the alert systems are among the most advanced on Earth, with warnings pushed to mobile phones, broadcast on television, and announced over public address systems in coastal towns. The speed was honestly breathtaking. Citizens received actionable information within minutes of the earthquake. This technological shield allowed authorities to move from reacting to a disaster to proactively managing the threat, a fundamental shift in emergency response that saved countless lives by giving people the most precious commodity in any disaster: time to act. The result of this technological vigilance was a cascade of timely and accurate information. As the tsunami threat evolved, warnings were updated, downgraded to advisories, or lifted entirely based on real-time data from the buoy network and coastal tide gauges. This prevented unnecessary, prolonged evacuations in areas where the threat was minimal, while maintaining a high state of alert where it was most needed. The 2025 Kamchatka earthquake was a massive test for this global technological infrastructure, and the system passed with flying colors. It demonstrated that investment in scientific monitoring is not an abstract expense, but a direct and powerful tool for the preservation of human life in the face of nature's most awesome power. Technology alone, no matter how advanced, cannot save lives unless people know how to respond to its warnings. The second critical element that made 2025 different was the human factor. Decades of public education and well-rehearsed evacuation drills had created a culture of preparedness in many Pacific Rim nations. When the sirens wailed and the alerts flashed across phone screens, the majority of people in the threatened coastal zones knew exactly what to do. They did not hesitate. They grabbed their families, their emergency kits, and immediately began moving to higher ground. This decisive action was not born of panic, but of knowledge and practice, a conditioned response built upon the hard-learned lessons of past tragedies like the 1952 Severokurilsk disaster. Across Kamchatka and the Kuril Islands, authorities initiated forced evacuations, but in many cases people were already moving before the official orders were fully disseminated. The memory of historical devastation is a powerful motivator, and the public understanding of the link between a great earthquake and a subsequent tsunami was high. In Japan, evacuation drills are a regular part of life, and this ingrained preparedness was evident in the orderly and swift movement of people away from the coasts. In Hawaii, despite the logistical challenge of traffic congestion in Honolulu, the evacuation was a testament to a public that took the threat seriously. A far cry from times when tsunami warnings might have been met with curiosity rather than caution. However, the response was not perfect, highlighting the persistent challenges of ensuring complete public compliance. In a few isolated incidents, individuals were observed ignoring the warnings. News reports mentioned kayakers in the United States, who continued their activities even as authorities pleaded with them to leave the water. These instances, though minor in the grand scheme, serve as a crucial reminder that disaster management's last mile is always human behavior. Overcoming complacency or a lack of personal risk perception remains a constant struggle for emergency managers. Every individual who fails to heed a warning represents a potential casualty, underscoring the unending need for robust and persuasive public education campaigns that resonate across all demographics. Ultimately, the overwhelming success of the evacuation efforts demonstrates the synergistic power of technology and education. The early warning systems provided the what and when, but the public education provided the why and how. The low casualty count from the 2025 event is a direct result of this powerful combination. It proves that societal resilience is not just about building stronger walls or more sensitive sensors. It is about building a stronger, more informed and more prepared populace. The human response in 2025, largely characterized by swift and appropriate action, was the vital bridge between it. The 2025 Kamchatka tsunami was a global event, managed through seamless international cooperation. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Center coordinated warnings, enabling nations from Chile to Japan to act quickly. This network of trust and communication saved lives and showed the power of working together. As coastal populations grow, continued investment in science, public education, and global collaboration is essential. Only by uniting can we build resilience and a safer future for all. The Great Kamchatka earthquake of 2025 was a humbling reminder of the immense power beneath our feet. Yet the true story is one of resilience and preparedness. Thanks to science, technology, and decades of public education, communities acted swiftly, saving countless lives. The Kamchatka earthquake stands as a powerful lesson. With knowledge, unity, and preparedness, we can face nature's might and emerge stronger together.